I swear, some of y'all love to complain about Starfield. I don't think I've seen this much complaining about a game when it hasn't even fully dropped, since The Last of Us 2 had a bunch of losers popping their blood vessels because Ellie made out with Dina on a dance floor. I mean, Starfield, as of this recording, is just barely into early access, so the amount of people who've had significant playtime with the game who aren't devs, media outlets, or anyone who's gotten a review code is about as low as Redfall's player count right now. Wait, let me check the player count, and I damn, not that low. I severely overshot that, but you get my point. Starfield has just barely gotten off of the launch pad, and yet we're seeing some of the most outrageous and overblown complaints that I've ever seen. Even for Twitter, it was bad. I mean X. All right, sidebar. The only X's I will ever acknowledge are the Bronx, New York, the X-Men, the X's cartoon that used to air on Nickelodeon, Ramona Flowers 7 evil X's, and DMX, which is very ironic because X has been limited my DMs for no reason.
That's called motherfucking boy!
That app is a pain in the ass. Anyways, one Twitter search puts you in the middle of some of the most baseless and out-of-pocket statements for a game not even fully in the hands of the masses yet. So let's quickly run down some of my dishonorable mentions. We've had people complaining about graphics when they're just actually looking at pictures of Mars that were taken by a NASA rover. Uproar over the Boundary Reach controversy when it was clearly stated that the game will generate planetary terrain around you and it's not that uncommon to have one. Hissy fits over a game asking you for your pronouns but pleading for more customization. What a bunch of losers, man. Saying Starfield is directly trying to outdo No Man's Sky when they are simply two different games about space stuff. Claims that the devs were rushed and not thorough because they made a simple title screen, and a personal favorite of mine, seething distaste for not being able to land or step foot on a gas giant planet. A gas giant where there is no likely any place to enter or survive because it's made up of almost entirely gas. Like, Bush really left so many children behind. Like, bro, oh my goodness, this is getting out of hand now. Nah, it's getting ridiculous. But out of the trenches of lower than 5th grade education and absolutely vapid comparisons to other things, one statement stood above the rest as the most contentious talking point during Starfield's entire pre-release build-up. The game being locked at 30 FPS must mean that there's something wrong with the game in today's world. It really baffles me how a lot of y'all turned 30 FPS into some Voldemort-ass phrase that everyone should be appalled by. This notion, this thought process that frames equate to quality on AAA releases, or any release for that matter, is really, really dumb to me. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized this shouldn't be the norm. Like the optimization and rate of bugs in Bethesda games, totally understand people being fearful of that. The face models and customization, not great, but not the worst point to critique given the track record of Bethesda. But to violently die on the hill of FPS when it was a deliberate choice by the devs is so brain dead. And in the mainstream of gaming, sometimes it feels like it's the only hill that people want to care about. Listen, this video isn't all about Starfield. It's more like Starfield's doing the fusion dance with its other half, and we'll loop back in with the game in just a bit. But I want to use Starfield to talk about one of the most annoying conversations and realms of rhetoric in gaming history: performance. And specifically why console gaming in the mainstream has become 70% pissing contest from inferior equipment because of it. And it all stems back to one canon event. The Ouya dropping and completely, nah, let me chill. It's not that. It's actually really the lead up and release of the PS4 Pro and subsequently the Xbox One X. I mean, think about it. With the 8th gen and everything prior, the definition of power wasn't really as pinned down and in the forefront as it was after that point. Of course, every new generation mentioned the leaps that they took and the new tech that they added over the previous, but it was never the main piece that typically stuck to the ears of gamers. It was always the games or features like backwards compatibility, the trash fire of online DRM, or some other component that made or broke that console's momentum with the public watching on. The definition of power never really took dominion over debates about which consoles were preferred and how much was really under the hood before this point, and gamers generally took that information and put it in the back seat compared to the features or titles that were on the way for the next generation. But the PS4 Pro changed things. In the past, there were absolutely different versions of consoles in a generation that had some slight variation, like the slim models or family bundles with some more storage, but the PS4 Pro was a planned major leap within the console generation. So they had to justify their new addition, and performance was the only legitimate front that they could do it with. From that point, we got an uptick in tech segments featuring Ned's Declassified Console Survival Guide, aka Mark Cerny, and the general mind state of the mainstream shifted a bit. A whole lot of people were getting introduced to 4K gaming, HDR or high dynamic range, refresh rates, and oh my goodness, the concept of teraflops. So many of y'all were sprinkling the word teraflop in your conversations like it was some Parmesan cheese at Olive Garden and you never told the server to stop. Like literally, I went to Google Trends to double check and the word teraflop hit an 11-year peak online around the build and release of the PS4 Pro. Now, I say all that to say that this era of the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X shifted the paradigm for the entire collective. Technical talk that was mostly employed by the PC elitists spread into the major rivers and streams of gaming, and over time, I think a lot of things were negatively impacted by it. It gave a lot more fuel to the fire of the stupid-ass console wars, and it gave too many new words to people that had no intention of actually learning what they meant or using them for constructive means. But most importantly, the perspective of mainstream gaming and the reception of content started to adopt a fixation on performance and overemphasized its relation to quality in this lane. I mean, think of how much outrage over Spider-Man puddles and frame rate debacles overshadowed rational conversations about games over the years. Gotham Knights was getting murdered for locking its frame rate to 30 FPS, and while the game was mid-pack for other reasons, harping over frames many will not even effectively see just buried other lines of discourse alive. The importance of these graphical numbers, rates, resolutions, and ranges were and are being sold to the masses in gaming, and a lot of people have fully bought in. So many people go to war over performance numbers when they know damn well they either don't know or don't have the equipment to fully realize what those figures translate to in their gaming experience. Alright, now let me reiterate. I don't think that caring about performance is bad. I want games to hit as close to their visual aspirations as possible, be optimized, and as smooth as developers can execute for gamers. But when games are disrespected and disqualified primarily by how devs make decisions on how to best deliver that experience graphically, it doesn't sit right with me, nor should it sit right with any rational person that enjoys video games. Before games hit people's hands, the perception of performance put so many titles under scrutiny. My boy Went Easy said it best, and I quote, "Now we're in a place where everything matters. FPS matters, resolution matters, 4K matters, but it doesn't really, because even though these systems can do these things, at the end of the day, we're still getting whack-ass games. Those numbers a lot of y'all harp on are not as important as you think they are. Games that are built on the performance equivalent of anabolic steroids and have everything from high frames to 8K in the future quality can still suck eggs. And on the flip side, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, games billed by many critics and common fans as one of, if not the greatest games of all time, ran like an infant in a halftime foot race during most of its existence. The thing that gets me is that some are so quick to cast judgment, move the goalpost, and never give some things a fair shake off of the connotation that a game nowadays isn't hitting peak performance standards. It never was and never should be the main measuring stick for a game's perception, period. Alright, tracking back to the other half of this fusion dance and the bigger picture, Starfield's gotten a lot of flack before even getting a fair swing in the wild. Even though it endured and is opening up to some really positive feedback from people tapping into the game via early access, there will still be some that won't even turn this game's way due to the 30 FPS console lock attached to it. And to those folks, I humbly say, it sucks to suck. Either get to playing on your fatback TV and stash them complaints about high performance, or put some money up for a PC and get some more frames, broke boy. But seriously, I'll leave you with this. Bethesda has sat with Starfield for a long time, and in making this game the best it can be, they made decisions on performance to ensure the time we spend in it is smooth and seamless across the vast galaxy they laid out for us. And like Bethesda, every game studio and new title that comes will make decisions on performance to execute their vision and ultimately make the experience fun for us, the gamers. So I'm going to need you to keep two things in mind. First, when you see a game with a locked frame rate or some performance-related measure being talked about, take a step back and understand that developers are not creating in spite of you, they're creating for you. Lastly, lay off the frames a little bit. Technology is enabling games to get super detailed and hit fidelity beyond belief, but a great game can be delivered in a million different ways, and most won't need 4K and 60 FPS to captivate and bring enjoyment to players. There's a lot of ways to build a game like there's a lot of ways to build a car or a spaceship. Just be sure not to focus too much on what you can't see under the hood and enjoy the ride you're being taken on. Thank you. Hey, before you go, just wanted to say a huge thank you to my boys Went Easy and Ken Knows It for sparking this rant slash topic slash whatever this was on this video. To Falk for making this dope thumbnail on the video as well. Go check them out. And to each and every one of you watching this. I know I've been out the loop for a while in terms of uploads, but we're working our way up to get more content out to you good people and just be more consistent. So stay tuned for more. Let me know how you feel about performance culture and gaming in the comments below, and let me know what you might want to see me cover in a future video. I appreciate your time. That is all I have, but don't trip. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.